have the wrong conversations in this country. We talk about racism, but we don't talk about opportunity. We talk about education, but not outcomes. Climate change, but not about healthy living. This unfortunate phenomenon reared its ugly head again this week during the Republican National Convention. Democrats flailing after a convention that didn't produce a bump for their nominee, and the usual suspects in the press and social media mobs, of course, drove several nonsensical conversations and manufactured scandals to try to distract Americans from the GOP's more positive convention message. Let's take a look at them. First, Melania Trump gave a moving speech about her husband and the nation that she has served as First Lady for nearly 4 years. But nearly all of the media coverage leading up to her speech, however, was first framed by criticism of her renovation of the White House Rose Garden. Days of snarky coverage, misinformation, hysterical reactions, and insults over the renovations then gave way to discussion of the scandalous location. We'll talk more about that later. People slammed her outfit, her accent, accused her of parroting nothing more than talking points, one washed-up celebrity starving for attention even calling her an illegal alien. Why talk about substance when you can talk about flowers and fashion? Isn't that a little sexist? Then there was Secretary Mike Pompeo. He made a historic appearance at the convention from Jerusalem to discuss President Trump's foreign policy accomplishments. Right on cue, Democrats and the left-wing press manufactured another scandal. There were calls for a congressional investigation. Obama appointee Susan Rice even blasted the fact that he talked about his Christian faith in his 4-minute remarks. It is true, secretaries of state usually do not speak at political functions, but what Pompeo did on his own time and his own dime was not illegal or inappropriate. In fact, other secretaries of state have also participated in and attended conventions. You don't hear about that, though. Mike Pompeo is a political appointee and the administration's top spokesperson for the nation's foreign policy. He is therefore the best person to articulate those points. True, there was a time when politics did stop at the water's edge, but Democrats and the press threw that out the window nearly 20 years ago when they often launched into biting criticism of President Bush and his diplomatic team while they were overseas. I was overseas then. I remember. Pompeo was in Israel doing his job. That's exactly what we want him to do. But why was it a so-called scandal? Because the Trump accomplishments in the Middle East terrify Democrats, not because they care about the policy conversation, but because they care about potentially losing Jewish votes in swing states. Finally, we heard plenty of talk at how the president was breaking the law holding his Thursday night acceptance speech on the South Lawn of the White House. This, too, was a manufactured scandal, but it drove a lot of discussion this week. Democrats had an opportunity to have people at their convention rather than it looking like a scene out of Orwell's 1984. They could have delivered a positive message rather than one about systemic racism and wag their finger at the majority of Americans for their ignorance and their implicit bias. They chose a divisive path, and they may very well pay for that in the polls. Democrats cite the Hatch Act and an obscure law that prevents federal employees from being forced to participate in political campaigns. Neither of those things apply here, but why should the facts matter? The Hatch Act does not apply to the president. The White House, while government property, is the president's home, and provided that he pays for non-official use of that property, there are no legal issues. There have been weddings at the White House, children's birthday parties. President Ford's daughter's prom was held in the East Room. No federal employees were coerced into working at the event. The campaign and the RNC hired an advanced staff and an event management team that put the entire event together, and it looked fantastic. Political appointees of the president are also capable of volunteering on political campaigns on personal time. The Trump campaign will pay for all aspects of the event. This was a three-pronged approach to trying to blunt the president's message. And there were plenty of people who took the bait. There always are. But if you're a Republican or voting for the GOP ticket, here's the good news. This was purely a defensive move. They want all of us to take our eye off the ball, to have the wrong conversation. The last thing that the left wants is Americans talking about real issues, policies that empower people, protect their freedom, and enhance their opportunity. Just my 2 cents.